This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com, and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Good evening. Welcome to the Glazov Gang. Tonight, our very special guest, Joe Newby. He is the co-author of Banned: How Facebook Enables Militant Islamic Jihad. Joe Newby, welcome to the Glazov Gang.
Thank you for having me on, Jamie. Good to be here.
One of the most important issues of our time. I think it reflects so much of the just surreal totalitarianism hovering over us. Before we go further, tell us about your co-author, Adina Kutniki, and how you guys co-authored the book together.
Yes, Adina is she's an American Israeli. She's been based in Israel now for the last 8 years. She has done, in my opinion, absolute yeoman's work dealing with issues like the Muslim Brotherhood. She's been writing on her own blog for quite some time. And just as an aside, she's working with some legal and security folks over in Israel to hopefully stop a potential gold laundering scheme that provides money to terrorists over in the Middle East right now.
Thank you so much, Joe. Well, look, Facebook, extremely powerful social media vehicle, as we know, represents so much more than just what it is technically. And there's a lot of censorship going on. More censorship is on the horizon, we fear, if certain things occur, like i.e. Hillary's victory. And you're writing about all of this. Now, look, I've been quote-unquote punished several times on Facebook for saying something about Islam, pointing to truth-telling about Islam. We know many pages have been taken down. Many groups have been taken down. You're the expert on this. Let's talk about this. You've written a fascinating book, very important book. Let's begin with this. What inspired you to write Banned?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Jamie. I tell you, it goes back to at least May, I'd say, of 2014 now. Actually, I did a story based on information I received from Dave Gobot, counterterrorist specialist, who, by the way, wrote the foreword to our book. It was actually a story about how he learned how Muslim groups were working with Facebook to silence critics. He passed this information on to me. I did my due diligence, got no response from Facebook. Got a less than worthless response from the Muslim group in question, wrote my story. I heard back from one of the Muslim groups in question, the executive director, and within minutes of that encounter, the article was flagged as unsafe. And keep in mind, at that time, Jamie, I had written some 5,000 articles for Examiner.com, but that one all of a sudden was unsafe. Consequently, I had several other articles that mentioned Islam. Some were good, some were bad, some were somewhere in between. It didn't matter. Islam was mentioned in the title, and the article was flagged as unsafe. I learned that this has happened to other people as well. And then a year later, in May of 2015, I started getting banned. Now get this, Jamie. You correct me if I'm wrong. I thought that forgery was against the law. Am I wrong? But what happened in my particular case was Facebook started banning me. They would pop up these notes and saying, we removed something you posted. And they would put up something that I had never seen before and never posted, but it was formatted to look as though I did it. It was always about Islam, and it was always something that I had never done. And then I would get banned. This happened to me repeatedly, I'd say at least 6 times in the course of 7 months. And then I learned that other people were banned for the exact same post that was also formatted to look as though they had put it up. And they all had to do with Islam, every single one of them. In about October, I reached out to attorneys because this was actually beginning to have some impact. I reached out to attorneys. Most of them didn't bother to respond. A few did. and said, yeah, we think you might have a case for damages, but there's nothing we can do. One outfit actually took my narrative, but decided they couldn't do anything. It was when Adina and I began doing the book, we began doing research, and I learned about something called Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. Jamie, this is going to floor you, I think, and I think it's going to floor your viewers as well. All of the censorship that you and I and many millions of others have experienced, believe it or not, is sanctioned by federal law. Every single last bit of it. Now, Pam Geller, who endorsed our book, she routinely gets death threats on Facebook from jihadists. And there was one that she got that I thought was particularly disgusting. I mean, they all are, but this one I thought was particularly so. I reached out to her and I said, well, did you report this to Facebook? You know what her response to me was, Jamie? She says, I don't report this to Facebook anymore because they never do anything.
Yeah. Well, Mark, absolutely they don't do anything. And look, everything that I've observed, just even personally, aside from the other million observations of our friends and colleagues, because I study social media and, I see the support of jihad. I see the calls by Muslims and supporters of jihad, of the hadith are referred to on Facebook, on Twitter, other social media that says to kill Jews, to kill Christians, to wage war on the Kufirs. I mean, there are calls for death. And this seems to be okay, but Milo is banned from Twitter. Yet ISIS carries on in terms of promoting terrorism on Twitter. Now, Twitter is another matter. Your expertise in terms of, I guess this evening, we're discussing Facebook. But before we continue, just, because I want to get into some of the things about your book, but just talk about this double standard and also where Mark Zuckerberg stands on all of this.
Well, it's kind of strange because there was one point in which Mark Zuckerberg, he came out and he said this was after a terrorist attack, and he was apparently under pressure to silence critics of militant Islamists. And he said, I'm never going to suppress free speech. I've been told, apparently he's been told by certain people that he should be under a death penalty for refusing to tear down images of Muhammad. Then within a very short period of time, his site knuckles under to a Pakistani lower court and starts tearing down pictures of Muhammad. In September of 2015, he was actually caught on an open microphone speaking with German Chancellor Merkel, and he told her in no uncertain terms that he was working on ways to stifle negative stories of these migrants that are pouring into Europe and Germany.
I just want to interrupt for 1 second, Joe. And you write about this in the book. You refer to a lot of this. And just here's the thing. He said that he wants to make sure that the Muslim migrants feel that Facebook is a welcoming place for them, right?
Well, Muslims in general.
And Muslims in general. Now, but here's the thing. So when a Muslim refugee follows the texts of his theology that teaches him that he can rape a little white kafir girl, and he does it, we cannot say anything on Facebook because then the Muslim rapist who was following the mandates of rape, which are sanctioned in the Quran and in the Hadith, we're not making Facebook a welcoming place for them. So we're the ones that have to be quiet about, for instance, what happened in Cologne New Year's Eve.
Exactly. And there are people who have actually been arrested and tried and sanctioned for being critical. Excuse me, being critical of that what we now call a rape fest. You see, it's not hatred when they come out and they say we must kill you. Allah says we must rape your women. Allah wants this. Allah wants us to cut off your head. That's not hate. You see, Jamie, it only becomes hate when you and I have the temerity to actually write about it, report it, and God forbid, post it on Facebook. That's when it becomes hate.
Exactly. Joe, in your book, you write some really scary stuff about pro-Israeli postings, pro-jihadist postings, and the grotesque double standards. Tell us about your experiences and your findings.
Well, there's a group out there called Shirat Hadin, the Israel Law Center, which, by the way, has a class action suit against Facebook on behalf of about 20,000 Israelis. As you and I both know, Israel has bore the brunt of these militant jihadists. They did an experiment here last year, in which they had two competing pages, one pro-Israeli, one pro-Palestinian. And they would put up similar posts on both of these pages. The pro-Israel page would attack the Palestinian side, pro-Palestinian page would attack the Israeli side, and so forth. These posts would get increasingly strident as time went on, and eventually they reported both pages to Facebook same day to see what Facebook would do or say. Well, guess what? The pro-Israeli page got torn down, and they were told that the pro-Palestinian page did not violate Facebook's community standards, and it stayed up. Well, what Facebook did not know was that Shirat Hadin had made a video of all of this. They captured it for all the world to see, and they did. They put it up on Facebook. I wrote about it. Several other bloggers wrote about it. That video got seen at least 1 million times, if not more, probably quite a bit more. Eventually, Facebook did what it always does, and it went in and it reversed itself. It tore down the pro-Palestinian page and then told us it was a mistake, that they left it up by accident or by mistake. Excuse me. And I have found, Jamie, that this is very common for Facebook. You know, every time they get caught with their hands in the cookie jar, you know, back when they censored Todd Starnes of Fox News for a post promoting the NRA, Paula Dean, and Jesus Christ, they banned him temporarily. And then after there was a hue and cry, we made a mistake. But you and I never get that kind of consideration, Jamie. But this is what they do. They got caught with their hands in the cookie jar, they reversed themselves, and they said, it was just a mistake.
Now, thank you, Joe. Now, look, your book highlights some really, really scary stuff that's going on that a lot of people do not understand, do not know. Let's talk about this here. You're writing about how Facebook enables Islamic Jihad. So look, we know that denial itself is complicity and enablement. We know that. Right. So denial in and of itself enables the enemy when we deny who the enemy is and we censor, etc. But there's a direct enabling. And even a former head of Israeli military intelligence has talked about this. There are actually calls for murder that Facebook does not stop, and then that murder is carried out. Talk about this.
Absolutely. A former IDF intel chief, fellow by the name of Amos Yadlin, who, by the way, happens to be somewhat to the left of center, came out and referred to Facebook as the state of Facebook. Very interesting. And said that Facebook actually presents the greatest danger to Israel at this point. And now that tells us an awful lot right there, that they would refer to Facebook as a nation state. You know, it's not that Israel has to worry about Iran or Hezbollah or Hamas or any of the other enemies that surround it on all sides. No, they have to worry about a digital empire known as Facebook, and that's frightening. Jamie, that's extremely frightening.
Joe, let me interrupt for one. Look, a person cannot say, kill, and I don't even want to say any names, just kill, and we'll just say XY, a person's name, right? And then people go out and kill that person. That is illegal. But on Facebook, Tell us what you write about what happened to the 13-year-old Hallel Jaffa Ariel.
Absolutely, absolutely. This young girl, an Islamist, a terrorist, broke into this woman's house, killed the little girl. Jamie, this stuff happens over there all the time.
But wait, a Palestinian terrorist had promoted and called for this on Facebook.
On Facebook, and this happens over there all the time, Jamie. And it just happened, again, just recently. This stuff happens all the time, and it got to the point to where Israel said, after one attack, Israel actually talked about banning Facebook out of certain areas of Israel, and so Israel and Facebook got together. This is after our book came out. Israel and Facebook came together and they said, we'll work with each other to try to stop this incitement to violence. Well, Al Jazeera and a whole bunch of other outlets, they didn't like that, and they thought that was censorship. Well, some of the pages that Facebook tore down as a result of the initial meeting with Israel, Facebook then turned right around and put some of these pages back up. And guess what? They were right back to inciting violence yet again. And this has just happened within the last month.
Joe, let me get this straight. So I know friends of mine, colleagues of mine that have written about the texts in Islam that inspire and sanction jihad, that inspire and sanction female genital mutilation and honor killings, etc. They are taken down from Facebook because, they're engaged in some kind of racism, even though Islam is not a race, or they're hurting the feelings of people that happen to be part of this religion, etc., even though we're not talking about Muslims, but about Islamic theology. And yet, the Islamic terrorists are actually calling for the murder of certain people. People are going out and killing these people, and nothing's done about it.
That's right. And moreover, it's totally ignored. There was, after the San Bernardino attack, there was somebody who was actually banned from Facebook for posting up a widely spread picture of Tashfeen Malik, one of the terrorists in that particular attack. And Facebook said, well, this violates our community standards. Let me tell you something about their community standards, Jamie, and this isn't well known. I get people contacting me all the time with stories about what's happened to them on Facebook. I've written, hundreds of stories about this. There was a lady who was banned from Facebook, Jamie, because of her profile picture. Facebook said it was pornographic. You know what it was? It was a picture of a lilac tree. So you have to keep in mind, people have to keep this always in the back of your mind. We're dealing with a company whose moderators think that a lilac tree is pornographic.
Yeah.
Okay. So now Facebook says, oh, there's no political ideology here. There's no ideology. We have this strict set of standards, blah, 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 blah. So if that's the case, then either one of two things is going on, Jamie. Either they have the most incompetent, stupid moderators in the business, number one, or number two, this is all ideological.
Joe, we're out of time. We got to go. Please, under a minute. Tell us about if Hillary Clinton wins, because she's in bed with all of these tyrants. Absolutely. If she wins, what do we expect from Facebook next? Please, under a minute.
Sure. Keep in mind that Hillary Clinton is actually on record as saying that Muslims have nothing whatsoever to do with Islam. There was a book that came out here within the last couple of years or so that said that as Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton promised certain Muslim countries that she would silence and intimidate those who are critical of radical Islam. This is, again, this has been reported in this book. Hillary Clinton has also promised to increase the number of unvetted migrants into this country by 550%. Sheryl Sandberg, the COO of Facebook, is seen as a potential Treasury Secretary to Hillary Clinton. And thanks to WikiLeaks, we know that Sandberg wants Clinton to win, quote unquote, badly. Hillary is no friend of the First Amendment, Jamie, and she would be extremely dangerous if she gets into the White House.
Thank you so much, Joe. Ladies and gentlemen, the book, Banned, How Facebook Enables Militant Islamic Jihad. You got to get it. Written by Joe Newby, as well as by Adina Kutnicki, both co-authors of this very important book. Joe, thank you so much for writing this book and for coming on the Glazov Gang.
Thank you for having me on, Jamie. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. And thank you very much for joining the Glazov Gang this evening. Please remember, we are a fan-generated show. If you like this program, go to jamieglazov.com to support the show. Make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel of the Glazov Gang. Good night.